It is a new day. If I look tired, I'm very tired. A lot of my family's been sick. I've been trying not to get it, trying to keep my little boy away from it as well. So it has been a week of trying to get stuff done, having some time here and there just between checking on people and work and everything else. So no complaints though. It is what it is. We have a little bit of time this morning, so we're gonna try to get a few things done. Let me show y'all what's currently in the lineup of cars, what we're finishing working on. Obviously, if you saw me on the last video, we had started on the F100, we completed the D150, and we are still working with C10. The C10 is running, but we still have to sort the brakes. So hopefully we have time to get that done before March 4th cruise in. That's gonna be my next target, is to try to do a shakedown run or two before then. But let's get started with the day. Yeah, these gaskets in the valve cover were definitely shot. Oil is pushing through, so it might have been a little oil I saw on this area over here, but the top end actually looks pretty clean. There's not a whole lot of sludge or anything built up in here, which is a good sign. There's a little bit in this corner, but other than that, not bad. We will get this thing cleaned up and hopefully get this thing painted up real quick. All right, that was significantly easier. 3 bolts, it's out. Now I can get right to that fuel pump. Don't have to worry about stripping lines or none of that. We're gonna bleed this top line down to get rid of the fuel in it and then plug off the other line. While I have this line loose, I'm probably gonna take it loose in the cab. And just to make sure it's free, I will probably take the line loose from right here and blow through it, just to make sure and ensure there's no issues. That's the plan right now, so we're gonna get that knocked out real quick. And here's the new pump, and it is exactly the same as the old pump. There's the power steering pump. So we're gonna get this installed, and it looks like the gasket's broken right there, so it's probably not a bad thing that we will go ahead and replace this anyway. But we're gonna go ahead and get this knocked out real quick and move on. And just like that, new fuel pump is, well, old fuel pump is out. So we will get the new one in. It looks like the seal had kind of gone out on this one, so that's probably, it was probably leaking air and just pulling air. But just because it's new doesn't mean it's good. So we're gonna get a new one put in and see if that fixes the issue. And then we're gonna see about cleaning up some of this RTV. The coolant, I am told them I would fix, but they, after paint, they're probably putting an AC on this car, so I don't know if I want to waste coolant twice. So I got to talk to them about that. And then I will probably clean up. Looks like they forgot to paint this head edge right here. I think I have some extra Ford blue paint laying around, and if I do, I will probably mask off and get that cleaned up just to make it look nice and neat when you open the hood, so it's all uniform blue. But first things first, we're gonna get this thing back running properly and done, and that'll just be a caveat if I can get that done as well. So now we're gonna get the fuel pump put back on and then put this back together, and then that should be probably all the time I have today, unfortunately, but that is what it is. So thank y'all. Looks like we had just enough time. It's for the end of the day. Power steering belts back in. Once I took the power steering belt off, I realized that there was actually, this belt was not straight. It was actually cocked more this way. I looked to see if I had a spacer like for an alternator or something laying around. I did not. Necessity is the mother of invention. I did have a nut that was a little bit too big, and that was the perfect space to make this belt line up correctly. That wasn't on the scope. So again, I don't mind throwing that nut on there, but it's not going to look great. For now, it will get it straight and keep the belt from flying off. And they can replace that with something a little bit cleaner later on. I just don't like sending stuff out the door that's not correct. So definitely wanted that belt to not get thrown off, and the fuel pump is back on. Now we need to just crank it and make sure we're getting fuel, number one, and number two, we're not leaking any fuel. That is the plan for right now. Unfortunately, I'm out of time today, so we got that accomplished. The last thing we'll have to do is that shifter linkage, and then we were waiting on the dust caps to come in for this front axle. Realized I didn't have any, and again, I don't like sending stuff out with not correct stuff. So those are going to be here probably Monday or Tuesday. I'm hoping by the end of the week to have this truck out of here and back to its owners is my goal, as long as everything holds up this week. So yeah, y'all stay tuned. Fired it over. We are getting full fuel up here now, and it seems to be keeping the bowl at full, whereas before it was not doing that. I do need to keep this tucked back a little bit better. I'll get that straightened out here in just a minute. Now we can make adjustments on the carb to make this thing run just perfectly and then get it back to them. The only thing I did forget is we still have to, the only other thing I forgot is the parking brake is not wanting to come back correctly. So either a spring or something's out somewhere, or the mechanism itself's messed up. We gotta look at that. But other than that, we're gonna get this shifter out and then put the new one in. Another day though, we are out of time. Pristine Survivor truck. We're gonna do a little work on this. So this is leaking a fuel pump right here, so we're going to change the fuel pump. It should be pretty simple, and this thing should purr back over here pretty quick. All right, while we're replacing the fuel pump, we're going to go ahead and replace this rubber line because it looks pretty dried out. All right, that is the new fuel pump on there, and it is back running. No drips, no more leaks. We'll probably do some more work on this thing another day. It is Sunday. We are back working on the truck some. We're working on several different things. As you can tell, we did a little rattle can restoration. Whole top end we took loose, and we got everything painted up and cleaned up. New hoses, new breathers, new everything. We got a little overspray back there, no big deal, but it looks 10 times better under the hood. It actually looks like we're doing something decent with this motor. Again, this is a budget restoration, so $12 can of Chevrolet orange and a few new pieces, probably less than 20 or 30 bucks in the whole top end and everything. New gaskets and everything, new valve cover gaskets. Top end looked great, so we're going to put this thing back together and then try to figure out these brakes and get those bled. My Tuesday night meet, which I was going to try to have this ready for, is Tuesday, which is 2 days from now. Today's going to be the last day I have to work on this, and I just don't think it's going to happen before Tuesday. I'm running out of time, and the brakes still are not active, so I've got to get that figured out. And then I've also got to change this donut gasket off down here, as I have an exhaust leak. Once I have that off, then I'll work on the brakes, but I wanted to get that done first. So I know it's been a little while since I didn't really film any of this process just because I was trying to do it, and it was also really dark. So as far as the F100 goes, let me walk down here. We did a lot of work the other night as well. Contacted the customer, let them know it was about ready. I did set the timing. The timing was all great. We did a great job of setting the timing. It runs great. When you go to put it in gear, it likes to try to bog down. And then it hit me last night that I actually set the timing with the vacuum advance hooked up. So that's most likely going to be my problem. So we're going to set that. We went ahead and put a new thermostat housing gasket in. Down there, it was leaking and pulling over onto the distributor. We have the new shifter in, and it tells her now what gear it's in. So she'll be happy about that. And yeah, I'm going to try to set the timing. I'm letting that hose cure up. And then I have a nice little bucket here to put it in gear. And hopefully this thing is gone, maybe midweek or next. I'm waiting on a few more things, and then hopefully this thing's out of here and we can move on to some other stuff and try to get my stuff going a little bit more. But that's where we're at on this. The timing should be dialed in now, and we're going to go for a quick rural drive. I'm just sitting on a bucket, so we're not going to do anything crazy, so I don't fall off or have an issue. But we'll probably go to the end of the driveway over here, flip around, come back, just make sure it goes into gears smoothly. This will be also the first test of the ratchet shifter to make sure it is where it says it is, and make sure all that is good as well. Obviously, we got all this stuff hanging down as well, so we gotta be careful when we're driving. You know, safety first with a bucket. Harbor Freight buckets are good. I am sitting on a bucket, so this is not gonna be stable at all, and this brake pedal is super loud, so you'll have to excuse me, but we are getting off on the little ride we're doing. So far, she's running pretty good. Definitely gonna have to grease that brake pedal though. That's crazy loud. But I'd say it's good to go back. She is dialed in about where she's gonna be. There's a breather missing on the other side. Sounds pretty good. So we're going to get this thing returned maybe this week to the owners and move on to some other stuff and try to get the C10 going and some other work done. So that is where we end with this F100. They got it. They want it to go into gear and they want it to run and drive under its own power to go to paint and body. And that is where we are at. So we cleaned up the wiring and did a few more things as well that kind of we found along the way. But that's where we're going to leave it. And also the 64 Ford is gone, so that leaves just the Gremlin, this shell of a truck, and then the Bel Air. If anybody needs Ford parts, there's still some good stuff left on that. 9-inch rear, seat, miscellaneous things, suspension, whatever. Bel Air's in good shape. Was a V8 car. And obviously the Chevrolet, but I'm not selling that, so this one just hasn't been picked up yet, but it's sold. So got some more room. Eventually we'll start buying some more stuff, but for now we're gonna try to get back to work on this Chevrolet. We just put the donut gasket in the exhaust. Now we just gotta crank it and run it over and see if we fix that. And I think the other side is actually toast now as well, so we'll have to get another donut gasket. But for now, or at least clean it up out here. All right, we are back. We had some issues with a water heater in my house, and it was in the attic and made a mess. So that has taken up some car time. I thought I had this F100 completely done, running as good as I can and ready to go. And then she reminded me one more thing it needed. And then also on top of that, we have another car we're doing a little bit of work on for a guy. The odometer stopped working, and then some lights are out in the dash. Should be pretty simple. I'll get into that in a minute, but let me show you what the deal is with this F100 now. All right, so it is pretty much dialed in as good as I can get it with this carb. I'm pretty sure there's some kind of issue internally in that carb, but you know, it's dialed in. I think I've repeated that a few times. So there is a cracked motor mount down there. I thought it had a pretty aggressive shake in it when I got it running, you know, good, but it's also sort of due to how it's mounted, which is just a cross beam across. So we're going to have to raise this motor up a little bit and change that mount out. And then hopefully we can get it loaded today and get this sent back home. Not that I don't love this truck. It is a very, very nice looking truck and has a lot of potential. But you know, I don't care to leave things laying around here too long. Just don't want something to happen. I like getting stuff done and then getting it back to the customer. I know somebody's going to say the Chevelle, that's a whole nother story. We'll get to work on that here soon because I also want to try to get that out of my garage. So in the meantime, we're going to get this motor mount jacked up real quick and then get this swapped out. And then we are going to load this on the trailer and be done with it. It's a nice day out. The birds are chirping, but we got stuff to do. So that's the old motor mount, new one. Pretty simple, self-explanatory. We're going to get that one put in and then get this thing loaded on up. All right, new one is in down there. No more crack through the rubber or anything like that. The other one seems to be okay for now. So we just changed the one. Most people replace them in twos, but yeah. So here we are. We are about to crank this thing up and then go load up the trailer, get this thing loaded for tomorrow, take it back, and that'll be a wrap on this gorgeous F100 there. Send it to paint, and hopefully soon they're out and about driving it around. Y'all see some of my work maybe throughout the town or one of my meets. She is loaded up and we are headed out in the morning to drop this off. Well, after work. We're headed to work and then we're gonna drop this off after. So one last little crank up and another one gone. We are back. This weather is killing me so far, and it's not even you know, full rain season. We had tornado weather last night. Luckily nothing touched down here. was kind of all around us. So I was up most of the night with that because I just don't like storms. So I just kind of set up and kept an eye on things. But it's a beautiful day today and no damage. So no tree limbs fell. There was nothing I can do about these besides pulling them forward. I just didn't have time yesterday to unfortunately to secure those. Let me flip you around. So my shop got water in it, which is not surprising considering it was 20 something miles an hour wind at least. So I pulled the S10, that's a customer's car. We're doing some work on it. I pulled that in and I put the Corvette in a garage nearby that was empty that I borrowed. So wagon and the S10, and then of course the Chevelle. I need to get back on that. I keep saying that and I haven't had time. My plan today, I haven't needed my rack, so I left the wagon on it on purpose. But I'm slowly learning that I just need to get my rack back. So I'm gonna actually flip these two and keep the rack open for when I have customers' cars in, just to make it easier on myself rather than getting a jack every time I need something, just for speed purposes. So we are gonna pull this C10 out, or this S10 out. I'm gonna mess with it today. And I guess I never went into what exactly we're doing with it, but we're making the instrument clusters brighter, and then the instrument odometer itself is not working. There is a check engine light, which it's OBD1. I don't have a scanner for that. And there's also a brake light. After some digging, those are all connected and maybe a fuse or a short in a wire somewhere. But it uses that system is what I'm finding out. So I'm hoping we get lucky and it's just a fuse or something quick to find and I don't have to trace down wires. But we're gonna get into that here in just a minute. I'm gonna pull that out and then we're gonna pull this back with the tractor and then we're gonna ease it forward in this stall. But I'm gonna get all this water out of here first. So a couple things to do that are gonna take some time, but should be worth it in the end. And then maybe if we get some time, we might try to see if we can get that Rambler running or that Ford down there. I guess y'all hadn't seen the Ford also. This came in Friday, the new inventory. It's hard to remember what I have and haven't showed y'all, so obviously almost the same truck sitting next to it, but short bed Ford. It is an inline 6 and it does run off a jug. The tank is trash, the windshield's trash. It's got typical rot and banged up dents that most of these trucks do, but she is pretty solid overall. Needs floors, typical stuff for these trucks. The bed's got a little bit in the front where they typically do. Other than that, it's in pretty good shape. So tailgate's in almost immaculate shape from what I can tell. Minus needing some cleaning, pressure washing. But she's in this is pretty much a work truck. It was somebody's supposed to be a manual. It was manual in the column. They moved it to the floor. Inline 6, bare bones, everything, manual brakes, no power steering, just a work truck. So you could just about take these two and put them together and have you one decent truck between the cabs. But that's the new truck. We're gonna get to work. Catch y'all soon. Wagon has moved for the first time in a while. This is how much rain we got. This corner of the shop was real wet underneath the door. So we're gonna put the wagon over here as mentioned, and that'll free up my rack right here. I do have a rack under here, but I need to finish this. I left it under here because I don't have brakes, so I need to lift this thing up and work on it. I'll get to that at some point, but needed to get that done. We're gonna get this wagon moved over. I got my neighbor come over and help me steer this thing in just to keep from hitting anything since the body panels are semi good now. Don't want to damage anything I've already fixed or damage my shop. So he steered while I kind of moved and maneuvered with the tractor. So that is in. Just perspective how long it is. It takes up most of the shop. But anyway, that is in. This rack is free. We're gonna wipe down this rack just because it's had grind and filth from the wagon on it. We're gonna free up this rack. I've got a couple friends that need to use a rack from time to time, and then my side stuff. So that makes that look nice and easy to work around again. The gang is all back together. This S10 is outside for now because it's supposed to be nice weather the last couple of days. We got a fan drying up all the water from last night. But yeah, So wagon's moved over. That'll give me the opportunity to use the rack more. I don't need the rack anymore necessarily for right now until we get that wiring done. So can always move it back over, no big deal. We're gonna work on this S10 now. So we are neck deep in taking this whole dash apart to get to this. The customer can't see some of the bulbs are burned out in here. It's just really dim and he can't really see what he's doing on the gauge cluster. There is a gauge over here, which seems to be working. So that means this one's probably an op up here. The odometer, the main complaint is the odometer is not working. I did find it a little loose. It just plugs in right here. And I did find it a little loose, but I don't think that's the problem. Some of these, just the motor goes bad and they don't work. We'll either have to swap out this cluster probably, or see what he wants to do. I mean, as old as the car is, it's an 89 S10. The odometer doesn't have to be functional. Technically, it's probably in excess of limits anyway, because it's almost at 100,000. But we'll see what the customer wants to do. But basically, we added in, I'm gonna make it dark in here for y'all. Give me just a second. That's about as dark as it can get. We added LEDs, so that brightens that up and you can actually see. And then that is off right there, on, off, on, off. So that should be allow him to see whatever he wants to do about the odometer. That's a whole nother story. So I'll wait and hear back from him, but at least for now he can see what he's doing before I go taking all this stuff and putting it all back apart, because it was a nightmare getting this piece off over here without breaking all the plastic, because all this plastic is very old and very brittle. So that's where we're at, and we will see what he would like to do. All right, lights are on. I'm gonna take the cluster apart. It's too big of a pain to get this thing back in and out, just to get to it all, this brittle plastic. So while it's out, I'm gonna do my due diligence and we're gonna check the resistance on that motor for the odometer. This is also not working. So we're gonna see what the deal is with that as well, and then hopefully come up with something. But this is where we're gonna start. All right, so I think I have a fix for this. We took this off the board. Point being is this would not reset. So I thought that was weird. And then upon taking off the back of it, I noticed that these are on the same parallel. So if this is not spinning, this will not spin either, to tell it to add a mile to it. Now, with that being said, this piece was popped up over here and not in the track. So it was actually free spinning and not doing anything. So if I sit here and turn, now it all seems to work. See, now you're going where I'm going with this. So that's where I think the issue is. So we're gonna put that to the test. I'm gonna put it back together and then we're gonna send it to the customer and let him drive it. See if that fixes it. I may just go down the road for like a mile and see if it changes. But that is what we're gonna do right now. And if that doesn't work, then we will revisit what the issue is. But I think it's something to do with that. It's usually never that simple. So if it works, great. If not, we'll keep going. But that's where we're at right now. It is back in. Make sure everything works. Gauge cluster is back in. We're gonna go for a drive and see if we can't make this number go up, which in turn will also hopefully make this number go up. If that's the case, then we fixed it. We can put it all back together and send it. If not, then we got some digging to do, some more. So